What's up, y'all? Jimmy D from Jimmy D Live here. Just coming to I'm not coming to a realization, but I come into a way to explain it to some people who've tried to help me in the past, right? Now I know the way to change is you got to decide, you got to make a decision, and you got to do it, right? You got to decide what you're doing, you got to change. You got to be firm about it. I understand that. But to somebody whose trauma is caused by people that bully them, people that have forced them to do things against their will or bent their will or whatever, you can't use that same tactic to get that person to change their trauma, because if they just recognize, hey, there's somebody trying to bully me, it doesn't matter that you're trying to bully me into being a better person. I just see somebody trying to bully me. So you can't, this is for people in the past who my so-called friends who've tried to help me, but it's like, you're not helping. You're not helping me. By bullying me, you're just reinforcing my trauma. By trying to force me to do something because you know it's the best thing for me to do, I'm not going to do it. Because I just see somebody trying to bully me. That's how it feels. So thanks for the help. I appreciate it. But stop. I mean, there's no saying stop now, because I've just cut everybody out of my life and I've left and been pushed down, cut out, or whatever. But so when somebody's got trauma, you have to take a gentle approach. And I'm talking to people that are like me, people who have trouble because of, people running all over their boundaries and not giving them the respect to let them make choices on their own. So when you come into someone's life and here I go again, I'm going to mention David Goggins. And I love David Goggins. I think he's awesome. I'm just using him because I think a lot of people know him. And I'd love to meet him and train with him. I'm just saying. You have to have a sensitivity, and you can't just go up to every man and say, you got to be a man, grab your nuts and be this kind of whatever, because it doesn't work. Because that's how he was traumatized, by people, men and women, bullying him, pretending to be nice, and and they're like, well, and then next thing you know, they're abusing and using that person, and they're traumatized, right? And over again, that's the cycle. So just keep in mind, people who are out there to try to help people, you think you're doing the right thing by just, I'm telling them the truth, I'm telling them what it is, I'm being straight up, you're not a man, you're not a real man, you got to grab your nutsack and do, well, that's not going to make me change. Even though if what you're saying might be right in some way, it's not going to make me change, because I'm just going to give you a big fuck you, and I'm going to walk away, because that's my trauma, and that's my, how it was for me. I'm not saying it is that way for me anymore. I've learned to change and to work around that. And it's not necessarily the other person's fault either. It's just two people being who they are. No one's wrong. But I'm just trying to give these people an awareness, these type A personality people that think just being a type A is the solution to every problem. It's not. It is not the solution to every problem. For your problem in your life, maybe, but people are different. Some people are gentle. Some people want to stay gentle. They don't want to have to change who they are. They just want to get rid of their trauma. I love being a nice, sensitive, caring person. I don't want to have to turn into a, muscle-bound type A male who has to dominate everybody. I don't want to be that. I just want to not have my trauma. And I've learned to set up boundaries, and I've learned to be firm, and I've learned to honor myself without having to be a type A person, Okay, so I'm not the first, I'm not the best, I'm not crushing it, but I'm being successful. I've got enough money to take care of me. I can do things that I want to do, and I can love life without dominating people. And I can still, people just are nice, and they treat me the way I want to be treated. I'm generous and helpful, so I just find other people that are generous and helpful. I don't need somebody to change me in ways that I don't want to be changed. I want different effects. I want a different result in life, sure. And I do have to change some things. Yes, that's true. But I want to change what I want to change. I want to change the things that I want to change. And I want to be the person that I want to be. I don't care if you have some kind of vision of me for me. Did you ask me if I agree on that vision? Oh yeah, you'll be a better man if you do this, women will like you more, and you'll have more confidence, and okay, maybe so. But am I still the person who I want to be? Am I still caring and loving? I like taking off my shoes and socks and walking around in the grass and feeding chipmunks and birds. I like sitting down and watching sunsets. I like poetry. I like to put on headphones and listen to music for hours and sketch and draw. I still want to be that person. I love writing in my journal with a candle in the dark. I like that kind of stuff. And I kind of like brooding and moping a little bit. I do like that. So somehow wading around in those deep waters is how I get to know myself. And I know, the depths. I can hold my breath longer than some of those type A people. And I'm coming down and crashing down on some of those, on that, I'm saying type A and these hard charging people. Sure. But that's because I think maybe you don't realize that's not the only way to be, and that's not the solution to every problem. So just understand, when you can walk up to somebody and say you want to help them, just be straightforward. Say, look, I'm trying to help you. Do you want to be stronger? Do you want to have more, firmness and hard foundation? You trying to be more like me with, big muscles and a six-pack, and everybody's afraid of you and whatever, you dominate? Is that the person you want to be? Because if so, then I can help you. Why don't you try that as a first thing, instead of just jumping in and assuming that, every person with a penis wants to be, Sylvester Stallone. No offense to Sylvester Stallone. But I'm just saying, as the people he portrays in movies. And, don't start tripping on Sylvester Stallone. I mean, I like Sylvester Stallone too. I'm a fan of his. But I mean, everybody doesn't have to be, every man, in my mind, and tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, and I'm really asking, women, I know there's women that don't want a sensitive man, but is there women out there that like a sensitive guy? I mean, what about the woman that's being beaten up by a guy every night? I bet she wishes her husband was more sensitive, instead of a complete boneheaded, thinks he needs to dominate everything. So anyway, it's a little bit just to getting off of my chest this morning. I don't know, I'm here doing my 22 push-ups and just waking up and wanting to share, because that's something I felt like I needed to say to some people. It's like, I appreciate you trying to help me, but you're not giving me the kind of help that I needed. And you're turning me into somebody that I didn't want to be. I mean, yeah, it would change certain things about me, but it would change too much about me, because I don't want to change the core of who I am. I just needed to release my trauma, and release my aversion to standing up for myself and saying what I need to say. And actually, David Goggins did say this to me. He said it, but I'm saying he said it to me. You don't need a six-pack. You just need to be tough. And that is true. You don't need a six-pack. You just need to be tough enough to be able to defend yourself from whatever it is that you need defense from. If you're having trauma and trouble with boundaries, you just need to be tough enough to stand up for yourself, or to walk away, whatever you feel comfortable with. It's your life. And you get to decide how you live it. That's the most important thing is, maybe you need to just take some time to yourself, do some journaling, do some soul searching, and think about, wow, what am I letting people get away with? I just need to speak up for myself a little bit more. I just need to stand firm in what I believe. And sometimes it's hard if you don't know what you believe. So sit down and write down your beliefs. Say, I believe this, and this is what I understand to be true about life, and this is what I want to defend. And you can defend it peacefully, with honor and without aggression. Sometimes you do need to fight, and there is that saying that says, I'd rather be, a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. And that's true. But either way, I mean, does a warrior know how to garden? I mean, that thing is assuming that a warrior knows how to plant and sow. Because a warrior, you don't go beat up the plants. You don't go kill the plants in a garden. You garden in a garden. You got to tend the soil and water the plants and trim them and stuff. You don't fight a garden. So, what's that all about? You can bend anything to mean what you want. So I say, read, study, increase your intellect, find out what it is that you need, and don't take the okie doke from people. Don't believe people when they say you need to be this or you need to be that. You decide for yourself what you need to be and what you want to change. All right. I love you. Take care of yourself. All right. And don't take no shit, but also don't be afraid to love. Don't be afraid to open your heart back up. Set your boundaries. But I think we're here for community and to love each other. So, let's understand and be at peace. Let's chill a little bit. Have fun.